Wasn't going to vlog tonight because I was just feeling quite tired and not feeling too well. So I think for the last few days I've not been feeling great and almost too unwell to try and talk about it. I've been pushing myself. I'm not sure pushing myself is the right word, but I've been working on finishing editing a novel that I've been working on for several years. So I was just doing the last sort of edits for that and working on some of the submission material, such as writing a synopsis, which can be really it's been really mentally exhausting for me. So today I've been feeling very low in physical energy, low in mental energy, low in mood as well. I'm not sure if part of that is a result of pushing myself with the writing the last few days. Also, I'm cutting back on drinking caffeine. Today I didn't drink any coffee or had any sort of chocolate or anything that has caffeine in it, and I'm assuming that may have an effect on my energy as well. Not that I've been a heavy coffee drinker, I think because my body is so sensitive, which is one of the reasons why I'm potentially coming off of caffeine to help with sleep, but I rarely drink more than one cup a day. Usually I just drink a cup in the morning. And it's very hard to know how much that's impacting my energy and mood right now. So I've been sort of in a bit of tunnel vision with the writing and some reading as well, and I haven't really been able to do much else around it, so I haven't really been cooking or able to cook. Getting outside has kind of waned in the last day or two. I did really well a couple of days ago. What day is it today? Wednesday. So perhaps the start of the week and over the previous weekend, I was getting out to the park and consciously doing a morning walk and consciously doing a late afternoon walk, and sort of balancing my time staying indoors. So the writing I've done is I've been doing it here at home versus in in the past I've used to go to libraries and coffee shops, and I think part of me not feeling too well to be in a loud or stressful sort of environment around, walking down the street and being amongst people. So, and one thing that's been happening more again, I've been sort of isolating myself as well with almost pretty much everyone, really. Not being able to really respond to some friends who have reached out to say hello or to ask how I am. And even recently, I've not been able to see any family either. I only see sort of two members of family on a regular, semi-regular basis, maybe weekly. So it's strange. I've been feeling sort of alone and not sure lonely is the right word. Might be. But maybe it is. It's a funny catch-22 where I think I've seen it in sort of popular mental health quotes, people saying that they're lonely but they also don't want company or something along those lines. For me, I struggle with company, but I think it's a natural human instinct is to be social and spend time with people, to talk to people. And so that's having an effect on me of not doing that, not participating in that, seeing people and communicating, sharing. But also aware that in this state of feeling very unwell, it's too painful seems like putting it in a very simplistic way. But to be, I guess to be general, it's too difficult. Part of that is I don't have the mental energy to have a conversation, whether via text or in person, a sort of social conversation. It's strange because on one level I can see the action of me not responding to somebody, or days or maybe a week's gone by I don't respond, and I can see it's such a abnormal behavior to do. Like somebody, most people would get back to them sort of instantly. It's kind of, we're in that sort of world as well where communication is done in a very small window, and usually something's wrong if someone hasn't gotten back to somebody or called them back, text them back, video called them back. Another one that people do, another way of communicating as well. Yeah, so today I've kind of almost, in a sense, crashed. I've had those few days of writing, and they were really difficult days as well. I kind of almost sort of leaned into the writing and the fact that I'm finishing this novel, which kind of gave me a bit of drive to do something. Drive to keep going. But I sensed I was probably wearing myself out as well, because I was putting on some sort of fast tempo music in the background just to get me jolted, and I felt like it was probably taxing my mind a bit too much, maybe. Again, it's really hard to know and hard to say. It feels like me saying that is just guessing in some ways. It's really, I can try and sense how I'm feeling now and how I felt today, and sort of use that as evidence to, okay, maybe because I'm feeling that way today, then perhaps yesterday's actions, it sort of tries to inform of yesterday's actions. It feels like I've only got one half of the jigsaw puzzle, and I'm trying to work off of that in some ways. I have a doctor's appointment tomorrow, which I'm quite apprehensive about, quite stressed about as well. I think it can be quite triggering sometimes. Recently, just being asked how I am, and also being asked, do you think there's anything that can help? That's a triggering question. I find the whole experience a little bit difficult, really, because I'm not able to fully explain myself and express what I want to. And it always feels like I always feel quite inadequate after an appointment. Part of me is aware that there was a use and reason for it, but another part of me is like, what was the point of that? And it's not so much a criticism of the doctor, it's almost an impersonal sort of observation of just being seen or getting help, or in the sense there's no really, I don't think there's any help available through the healthcare system. They're very limited in regards to resources and scope, and so it becomes a bit of an empty gesture, really. I find that it feels like I've gone down various paths of therapies and medications. Most of it's not, I've not been able to, either it's not worked or been effective, or I've not been well enough to engage in it, or it's had a negative impact on me. So yeah, it just feels like a stressful thing. Tomorrow's appointment is a follow-up for, I think it's a follow-up for my anxiety medication that I got last time. So I'm guessing it is that, I think, just to check how the chest pain is, and any maybe concerns or questions about the medication. But it almost feels like there's a need for me to, like me recording this vlog, it comes, the reason I do it is partly it's a need to sort of self-validate in this sort of insanity of my reality, just to kind of pull it out there and for it to form a certain shape. And part of it is almost as well, I think I've said before, almost like a bit of evidence, or maybe there's some meaning there, that all these logs about my difficulty or mental health I'm recording. If something drastically goes wrong with me, then I don't know if it's any help having these, but perhaps it takes some form of benefit for me, maybe in either in a validation or to help with keeping my sanity as much as possible by recording this, so it's not all in my head, maybe. So going back to the doctor's appointment tomorrow, I'm not sure what to do with that, really. I'm guessing I'm going to be asked about the medication, which should be straightforward. I took it for a short amount of time during the chest pain when it was very severe, and I only took it for a certain amount of days, and I don't think I had any side effects with that. And I'm willing to perhaps take it again if the chest pain comes back, or I'm not able to sort of manage it with other things like meditation or breathing, breath work. And I think I'm maybe worried about a question, like, I think I get asked sometimes at the appointments, how's everything else going, or how are you? And it's almost, again, it's very overwhelming, because I don't know where to start with that, really. And often what stresses me about that is that lost my train of thought with that. I had a funny thought about maybe I should make myself a cup of coffee. It will help with recording this, because I feel like I'm quite tired. But it's only it's still before 10 o'clock, so maybe I'll get to bed soon. I wasn't trying to do a bit of reading, but maybe I'll just read a page or something, and maybe I have times, I know I'm sidetracking now, but I have times when I go to bed early, I'm feeling tired, and I get a really bad sleep. Like, I get into bed and I just lay there and I don't end up sleeping, which is strange sometimes when I'm sitting here or sitting in my chair watching something and I'm feeling really tired. I'm like, okay, as soon as I get into bed, it's only when it's quite late, and I can fall asleep a bit better, but I'm trying to get in a good. Anyway, back to the doctor's appointment. So that question being asked, I guess it's very stressful to try and answer that, and also it just, again, it feels a bit of an empty gesture. Sometimes it'll be like, I'm not feeling good. Okay, what can we do? I don't think there's much that can be done that's available to you, until, like, some sort of plant medicine, psychedelics. So I know the studies about mushrooms, microdosing mushrooms, or is it MDMA is another one, where they use that in, I think, counselling or some sort of therapeutic setting. But besides that, I don't think there's much I haven't tried that can help. So again, it just feels a bit of a, and also in the trying to explain how I am, it's triggering in itself, because I do a very poor job in sort of trying to articulate how severe things are. it just comes across as, yeah, I'm not feeling too great, but I'm trying just to get through each day, and it just feels really, I don't know if tepid is the right word, just popped into my head. And it feels a bit daunting as well, because part of me wants to sort of shout and scream that, or really express myself that I'm just really struggling each day, and I never get to the point where I'm able to do that when that question's asked. I've been a little bit better in not sort of consciously putting on a brave face, and I've tried to be a bit more transparent. Usually I jot a few things down on some paper. I take my journaling with me and kind of open it up, and I've done that a few times now. The doctor's kind of I think the last time I went in, she looked at my book, and I think she said, do you want to read the list you've got there? And so they're kind of almost getting to know my system. And also, some things I'm not sure if it's even worth mentioning, because it feels like I'm just wasting the doctor's time, or it's just not that it's not important, but it just gets lost in the narrative of the label of depression or anxiety. Everything gets sucked into that, and it just, whatever I say, it's like, oh, I'm aware, you've got depression and anxiety, and it's going to have difficult days. Maybe I'll see what comes to mind tomorrow morning. Try to approach it from a productive, positive point of view, to see, okay, how can I make the most of this appointment, and not in a pressurized way, because that would just be really stressful. But is there anything, perhaps a better way to put it, is there anything that the doctor needs to know about my health that's either a worry for me or changed, or is there anything I need from a doctor? Because maybe part of me just needs reassurance. Perhaps that's a good one to write down. I need some reassurance about things. I'm struggling a lot, and it doesn't seem like there's at the moment any active solutions that could be offered through the health service. So, and also I'm worried about my memory, and this triggers the symptom of depression, which is pretty much everything. It feels like the list of symptoms is endless, I think. And the worry is me mentioning memory, that I would just get again covered up by the label of depression, and I want to sort of convey that the memory feels quite severe, short-term memory loss, or just really struggling to remember stuff, such as usually I wash my face and put on some moisturizer on my face before I go into the shower, and there's been times when I've come out and I've like, did I put moisturizer on? And it feels more than just I was a little bit distracted, or just a natural thing can happen when your mind's preoccupied, and then you come back to something and you think, did I do that or not? I can't. But this feels more complete loss in the abyss. It was just no trace at all, no feeling at all, and I'm wondering where that line is from the depression symptom of memory, and where that line gets crossed into something else. And I want to make sure that I give the doctor sort of an accurate articulation of the memory loss or difficult using memory. So I get assessed accurately, because one of the things again is if I'm not expressing myself or articulating myself, it can just get lost. It can just say, well, yeah, you've got depression. It's one of the symptoms of it. And I do, what I fear the most is things not being caught now, and then later on, whether this is years or decades later, it's too late. You know, it's they can diagnose me then in a decade time. Yeah, you've got this, so it is more than depression. And then it feels like it's, you know, as time goes on and things are diagnosed later and later, the window of treatment or solutions and other things gets narrower. And I'm trying to do my best to help myself as much as possible, and not get into that place where things are limited. It's just yeah, maybe somehow I can write that down, but it's tricky saying this to a doctor because it feels really intimidating, like you're trying to sort of preach medical stuff to the doctor who's the expert. But maybe I can come at it in a way of worry, to say, okay, I've got this symptom of memory, blah blah blah, and explain this, and I can mention a moisturizer shower situation, and say to them, I'm just worried that this is more than just a symptom of depression, and I'm just something along those lines. Maybe that'll be better to do that way, and it will be in a way where hopefully it can elicit the help of the doctor. It's me being open. It's not, I'm not assuming anything, because sometimes it can come across, you know, like you're trying to tell the doctor, this is what I have and you need to do something you need to do something about it. Where now I'm trying to just give the doctor the best information I can, keep my doctor as informed as possible. I think that's one of the challenges, really, so things aren't lost in communication. So maybe a few things to write down. Talking about memory, I may jot them down after this video just briefly, because I don't want to come to it tomorrow morning thinking, yeah, I had some good ideas last night, and I've got it recorded. I guess I can just watch this. So that's a good point. So doctor's appointment tomorrow. Hopefully it won't be too stressful. Jot some things down for it. Maybe that will help. And really maybe maybe tomorrow have a quiet few minutes just to see, really check into my body and mind, because sometimes it's hard to, without, you know, even just remembering, generally speaking, without potentially severe sort of memory symptoms, it's sometimes hard to just think, okay, how has the last few weeks been? Is there anything that I need to really address with a doctor? Because I think when having these challenges with mental health, everything can just feel the same. Everything just seems always quite severe. So I feel like I can lose the nuance of certain things that, you know, certain things that I think, I should mention that. That's quite important. Like even this memory thing, you know, I've only just sort of acknowledged it, that I perhaps should say something to the doctor, but it could easily have gone of just another difficult symptom of feeling unwell. So yeah, maybe just take a few minutes to really try and just think about anything else that a doctor would need to know about, or anything that I feel has gotten worse. Maybe brain fog's another one. What else do I want to... Yeah, so I think overall just a worrying day today, where I've just really struggled. just to get myself through today. I didn't do any writing today. I've just watched some YouTube. I had some porridge around lunchtime. I realised I didn't have enough. I realised there was only sort of 2 meals I could have today, because anything else would require cooking, and I didn't have the energy for that. So even though porridge, you kind of cook it, but it was something I was able to do, so I kind of had that for sort of breakfast and lunch. And then in the evening, or actually I had it sort of early evening, late afternoon, I had some vegetarian burgers with 2 of those were I had 2 rolls left in the fridge, luckily, so I put those in the oven, and then I managed to have some lettuce on the side, kind of washed and tore up some lettuce into a bowl and had that. That was the most I can do today. That was sort of the only simple food I had available to eat, so it's kind of only had sort of those 2 meals today. And I purposely tried to wait and stretch out after the porridge, knowing that after having the burgers there wouldn't really be much else for me to eat. So I kind of did a bit of a sort of fast so yeah, going back to the worry about today, and I think there's a worry with the isolation as well, because usually I've always fluctuated sort of having sort of social contact, and I think my sort of base layer, I guess, a way to put it, if I was struggling with talking to friends, at least see the 2 members of family that I still keep in touch with, but they both try to be in touch to see me and to see how I am, but I've just not really been able to talk or to meet. Yeah, so we'll see how tomorrow is, because I'm aware of the caffeine stuff, and I'm trying my best to really focus on my sleep as well. So I'm gonna, after this, I'm gonna turn off potentially that lamp and turn on a very small light, just to help with lighting for a little bit, but that might affect the reading, so I'll have to see. But yeah, just really hoping for a good night's sleep tonight, or some kind of sleep. Yesterday I actually had the last few days I've been having coffee. I've been having it earlier and earlier in the morning, after sort of listening to a study that caffeine can stay in your system for 12 hours, or a quarter of it can. So the sleep doctor person put it in a good way, or in a bit of a scary way, saying, if I was to have a cup of coffee, regular sort of strength coffee, at say like 10 o'clock in the morning, then it's like at 10 o'clock at night, it's almost like having a quarter cup of coffee before going to sleep. So that really hit home for me. So which is one of the reasons I didn't have any caffeine today, to see I'm that sort of desperate to improve my sleep, knowing how much it's really affecting me. Maybe that's something I'll write on a list as well, actually, for the doctor, potentially. And also been aware of the damage that a lack of sleep can do, and to someone who's healthy, let alone me. and the state of my mind, the way I feel it is, it just feels really, really damaging. So it's one of the reasons why I'm going to potentially try and stop drinking coffee for the most part, or we'll see how this trial run goes, really. It's funny, I'm not sure if I don't think I am like addicted to coffee or have like, but maybe I'm becoming that, moving in that way, because even now I'm thinking, oh, I've got like, I've got like a full, can't think of the word, container of coffee grinds. And part of me was like, yeah, I won't have coffee from now on. But then another part of me was like, oh, I've got all those coffee grinds to finish. You have to finish those and have your coffee in the morning. So maybe there is some craving or pleasure in coffee as well. Sometimes I get in the habit of thinking I'm above things. Like, no, I'm not addicted to coffee or anything like that. And yeah, and sometimes it slowly reveals itself as, oh, God, I could, like 6 months later, I could say, I think I am. There is some coffee tendencies or coffee addiction there, but I don't know. Okay, so I'm going to try and wind down, maybe do a little bit of reading and get to bed, and see how tomorrow, maybe I just don't, maybe I'll try not to think about it tomorrow. But it's going to be hard not to, really. One of the things with these low moods, especially when trying to go to bed, it's like the depression almost, or part of the mind wants to sort of, what's the word beginning with R? Revel, that's the word. Word came to mind as ravage. I was like, no, it's not ravage. Revel, that's it, revel. So it wants to revel in those dark thoughts and really feel sorry for myself. Because I don't often, as far as I'm aware, I don't often do that. So in this time of weakness or feeling weak, then it comes out and it wants me to feel more depressed even, and just amp up the low mood even more. And I know that's, of course, it's not going to help, or it's not healthy. But it feels like that after a day like today. It's quite easy for those thoughts to come. And talking about memory, it's hard to really remember even months ago how, if these days run into more low days, doesn't feel like I can remember how it works. So I'll just try and see how tomorrow goes, really, and take it from there. Yeah.